Coming up next on News Channel 13, playing the waiting game. We'll hear from one of Schenectady's mayoral candidates. And the latest Al-Qaeda strike, this weekend's deadly attack on a crowded Saudi Arabian street, is believed to be an act of terrorism. Live at 11 next. You've seen Hollywood's portrayal of her rescue. Now hear from her actual rescuers. We'll have more on the Jessica Lynch saga. Plus, more local National Guard members could soon be joining the war on terrorism. And we'll have the latest on the terrorist attack in Saudi Arabia. Live at 11 starts now.
From WNYT, Albany, this is News Channel 13, live at 11.
Tonight's top story, facing reality. Those who helped bring Jessica Lynch to freedom are speaking out about the ordeal.
This is News Channel 13, live at 11.
Good evening, I'm Kelly Lynch. For those who helped return Jessica to her family, the initial experience was just simply doing their duty. They had no idea their fellow soldier would become a symbol for national heroism. As Krista Flash reports, Jessica's rescue is a source of personal pride for those who helped bring her to safety.
With a movie, a book, and an engagement to another soldier, life for Private First Class Jessica Lynch will never be the same. Jessica was taken prisoner after her company was ambushed during Operation Iraqi Freedom. But who would have thought that this young woman's rescue would receive so much attention? Captain David Patterson, one of the pilots that flew 20-year-old Jessica back to the States, never would have thought he'd be carrying a soon-to-be celebrity.
We didn't really know what was going on until we showed up to the flight line that morning at Ramstein, and there were more cameras than I've ever seen in my life out there. And when I landed, it seemed like my family, everybody knew that I had a good landing, and I was wondering why. And they said because it was live on every news channel, in the States.
Bringing back the injured Jessica was all in a day's work for this Charleston-based Air Force squadron.
Just like any other litter patient, she was just sitting there on the litter. When needed to be attended to, she was attended to.
But the crew that flew Jessica back feels proud about that mission. Captain Carrie Ellis, one of the pilots, is from Jessica's home state.
The mission made me feel very proud. I was very thankful to be a part of it, especially since Jessica Lynch is she's also from West Virginia, and I'm from West Virginia, so hometown girl, I got to take her home.
A former POW during the Iraq War, Jessica has now become an American symbol of hope and heroism.
Her biography, I'm a Soldier Too, the Jessica Lynch story, will be released on Tuesday. U.S. soldiers still in Iraq have arrested more than a dozen people in connection with last month's deadly attack on a Baghdad hotel. Military officials say 18 people were taken into custody today. They're charged in the missile attack on the Al Rashid Hotel. A U.S. colonel died in those attacks, and 18 others were injured. Deputy Defense Secretary Paul Wolfowitz narrowly escaped harm. More National Guard members from our area could soon be deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan. More than 200 soldiers with the 56th Personnel Services Battalion based in Latham received word last week. The unit is one of 3 put on alert across the state. It's not yet known when the battalion will depart. The death toll in Saturday's bombing in Saudi Arabia now stands at 17. 5 children are listed among the dead, and more than 122 people are wounded. A car disguised as a Saudi police car pulled into a crowded street and blew up. Saudi government officials and terrorism experts are calling the bombing the work of Al-Qaeda.
It's probably likely that Al-Qaeda decided to go ahead with the terrorist operation before their cell could be uncovered, and that they felt that this was the most obvious target. It was soft, it was easy to hit, and it could also inflict maximum casualties.
At least 13 of those killed were Arabs. The others have not yet been identified. A memorial is being planned to honor those killed in a plane crash in Queens just 2 months after the 9/11 attacks. All 260 people on board and 5 people on the ground were killed in the November crash 2 years ago. At a memorial mass today, Governor Pataki said the heroes of September 11th will never be forgotten, nor will those who died the day of the crash. Honoring those who fought for our country was the focus of a celebration in Troy today. Brunch at the Brunswick Elks Lodge held special meeting for the families today. 10 veterans were honored with medals they never received after fighting in Vietnam, Korea, and World War II. Many of them waited for more than 50 years for the honors, ranging from Purple Hearts to discharge buttons. Florence Milos was given her husband's bronze medal today.
Because, as I said, he never talked about what happened over there.
At the end of World War
At the end of some of these guys who were injured were just discharged after injuries, were never given their just awards, and we're trying to make that right now today.
This was the 5th year for the Veterans Day brunch. There's good news at the pump for drivers, and despite a decision in limbo, one Schenectady mayoral candidate is looking toward the future. Those stories are coming up next, but first, Lee Copson's here with a first look at our forecast. It wasn't all that bad today. A little chilly, though.
It was chilly, not as windy as yesterday, and that made it feel a little better. Plus, the sun was out and shining, and that always makes things feel a little brighter. It's going to be cold again tonight, Kelly, and a cold start for a Monday. Heading out to work or school, temperatures in the lower 20s early in the morning, but we'll rise up into the middle 30s by noon and continue up into the middle 40s tomorrow for afternoon highs. So it's going to be a little bit milder coming up tomorrow afternoon, though still a little bit below average. We do have some milder temperatures in the forecast, may even hit 50 by Wednesday, but it also looks like we've got some wet weather to talk about that. We'll have the complete forecast in just a little bit.
Okay, thanks, Lee.
All right.
Prices at the pump have dropped more than 4 cents per gallon in the past 2 weeks. That's according to a nationwide Lundberg survey. The survey says the average price per gallon of gas is now about $1.55. That's down almost 20 cents from 2 months ago. Analysts say prices could go back up if oil prices continue to rise. The race for mayor of Schenectady is still undecided, but one candidate says he's already preparing his transition into office. Democrat Brian Stratton was at a fundraiser tonight at St. Mary's Church. He says he's beginning to form a transition team. Stratton says he's reached out to people with expertise in many areas, including transportation and public safety.
It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. A lot of things have to be covered, and we have about 7 weeks, so I'm not waiting. I'm going to make sure that we're already moving forward, planning our transition, and the victory will become official on Wednesday.
Stratton is leading Republican candidate Peter Guidarelli by 222 votes. About 90 paper ballots will be opened tomorrow, and 705 absentee ballots will be counted on Wednesday. They will determine the next mayor of Schenectady. Our calls to Guidarelli's campaign today were not returned. Harsh words from the State Education Department to New York's teachers. The State Ed Department and the State School Boards Association are asking schools and teachers to better secure their tests. Schools are also being asked to report cheating teachers. This comes after a review showed an increase in teachers who helped coach students during tests. School superintendents received notices last week reminding them to make sure all standardized tests are secure. More discouraging news for some of New York's schools. A state report finds that charter schools like this one in Albany drain aid from traditional schools. The state's largest teachers union and the State School Boards Association also found charter schools aren't successfully competing with other schools. School districts blame charter schools for larger class sizes, layoffs, and higher taxes. In Vermont, parents of a college freshman say they're outraged by their son's expulsion from his dorm. 18-year-old Rob Provost was kicked out of a dorm at Vermont Technical College. School officials say Provost wrote anti-gay comments and gave him 2 days to get out. The teen's parents say their son's punishment is absurd and jeopardized his health and safety. Today marks 65 years since thousands of Jewish businesses in Germany and Austria were attacked and destroyed by Nazis. Jews in New York mark today's anniversary by rallying for the deportation of an alleged Nazi war criminal. Jane King reports.
Admitted former Nazi guard Yaakov Pauli, now 80 years old, lives at this house in Jackson Heights, New York.
Just get out! He didn't belong here to begin with. He doesn't belong here now, and one of the themes of the rally will be just get out.
Hundreds of Orthodox Jewish students and their rabbis from a local high school were making their demands loud and clear. But this morning, there was no sign of Pauli. Pauli came to the U.S. from the Ukraine more than 45 years ago. 2 years later, he got married at this Ukrainian church in New York. He has no children.
We don't think it's right that a Nazi war criminal who may have been involved in killing many men, women, and children should be living here free in the United States.
Earlier this summer, a federal judge in Brooklyn revoked Pauli's U.S. citizenship after discovering his role as a former SS guard responsible for assisting in the persecution of civilians during World War II. Next week, the Justice Department will begin the deportation proceedings against him.
I talked to Pauli on the phone, but he refused to go on camera. He told me he was forced to train as a Nazi guard at the age of 18. He did admit he lied about his Nazi past to immigrate to the United States, but he said he never hurt or killed anyone.
But Polly did commit crimes against humanity, according to Eli Rosenbaum, who runs the Office of Special Investigations that prosecutes Nazi criminals in the U.S.
At the Travnicki labor camp, he helped ensure that prisoners did not escape so that ultimately they could be murdered en masse as they were in the end of 1943.
Rosenbaum said Polly's case is just one of 22 nationwide his office is litigating this year. Altogether, 8 U.S. citizens, including Polly, face deportation by year's end. Today's rally is timed to commemorate the 65th anniversary of Kristallnacht, when synagogue and Jewish shop windows in Germany were broken and the buildings burnt. Polly says he has no plans to appeal. If the government wants to deport him, they'll have to kill him at his home. Jane King, CNN, New York.
A New Hampshire church is trying to come to grips with the first openly gay bishop of their faith. Today, the morning mass ended in confrontation. In Albany, a much more joyous occasion as one church celebrates its history dating back to the Civil War. And the much-anticipated source of scandal in the British royal family has now been revealed. We'll have details at 11:15.
Live, local, late breaking. With Kelly Lynch, meteorologist Lee Copson, and Big Board Sports with Rodger Wyland. This is News Channel 13, live at 11. For more details on some of our stories, visit WNYT.com. With more news from MSNBC, WNYT.com is powered by Verinet Solutions, putting internet technology to work for your business.
Welcome back to a milestone for the first African-American church in upstate New York. Dozens of people came together today at the Israel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Albany. They came to celebrate the church's 175th anniversary. For parishioners, today's festivities were a great way to reflect on the church's rich history. One of the most noted times came during the Civil War. Harriet Tubman is said to have brought slaves to the church, which served as a stop on the Underground Railroad. The pastor says love has helped the church survive all these years.
If they were hungry and one didn't have the other half, if they were naked and they had clothes, they shared. And because of the diversity of this congregation now, from the days of slavery to now, this is what have held them together.
Members say they hope and pray the church will be around for at least another 100 years. Dozens of Christians today called on the judicial system to clear Chief Justice Roy Moore of ethics charges against him.
To continue the message and communicate clearly that the 10 Commandments are the moral foundation of the American U.S. justice system.
Charges were brought against Roy after he refused to obey a U.S. District Court order. The order was to remove a 10 Commandments monument from the Alabama State Judicial Building. Today's rally, organized by his supporters, kicked off a 4-day effort to help keep Roy's job. Roy goes to trial Wednesday to face ethics charges. It's now been 1 week since the consecration of the first openly gay bishop in the Episcopal Church. His controversial election into the head of that church still has many of its parishioners angry. As Philip Hoff reports, some are actually getting physical.
Just before communion, more than half of the Church of the Redeemer stood up and began a protest to the elevation of the Episcopal Church's first openly gay bishop. Their plan was twofold. First, to read a statement, then to walk out.
In a very godlike way, announced that we would be leaving our parish because they fired our priest, and we were physically shoved down the aisle because we tried to stand up against what is not of God.
Well, Ginger and I were trying to make the statement. Martha Diner grabbed my arm, ripped my paper, grabbed my portfolio, pulled my arm, pushed me, and another gentleman stood up out of the pew and approached me in a very threatening manner.
Many here are upset their pastor, Reverend Donald Wilson, was dismissed last Friday because of the, quote, insubordinate way he dealt with Bishop Gene Robinson's elevation. So this Reverend Canon Martha Diner was put in Father Don's place, and she did not want any statement read in church.
I took the statement away. I did not touch them.
You did not push 2 women down.
No. I beg your pardon. No, I did not.
It has nothing to do with homophobia. It has nothing to do with the gay bishop. It has everything to do with them trying to decide for us how we want to believe.
So now, the Church of the Redeemer is without its pastor. Parishioners are still upset with the placement of Bishop Robinson. And as irony would have it, guess who they have to ask for Father Don's return?
We appeal to Bishop Coadjutor V. Gene Robinson to reinstate our priest immediately.
No word on when or even if that will happen.
That was Phil LaPoff reporting. The sexuality of Prince Charles is now being questioned in the latest scandal to rock the British monarchy. A front-page article in a British newspaper today alleges Charles is bisexual. The article quotes a former royal servant as saying he'd witnessed an incident involving the prince and his valet. Prince Charles is not commenting on the article. Meanwhile, there is good news for the royal family. Prince Edward is a new dad today. The third son of Queen Elizabeth II spoke briefly to the press before being reunited with his wife, Sophie. The royal baby girl was born just before midnight, several weeks premature. Her name is not being released yet. Still to come, tonight's winning lottery numbers, and up next, Lee has the first morning forecast. Stay with us. Welcome back. The state of California isn't getting much of a reprieve from Mother Nature these days. Strong thunderstorms and heavy rains hit parts of the state today. A small funnel cloud was even captured on this home video. Higher elevations were dealt a round of heavy snow, which was good news for winter sport enthusiasts. I don't think it'll be much longer till we see some of that here.
No, actually in our forecast.
Not the funnel cloud.
Right, in our forecast we do have some of the white stuff coming in by the end of the week. We're actually going to moderate a little bit by the middle of the week and then turn cold again by the end of the week. And cold is the operative word now. These are morning lows across the area from this morning. Our weather network locations: 19 at the high school in Fort Edward, 17 in both Bennington and Averill Park, 18 in Hudson, 21 in Cairo, 18 in Cobleskill, 19 at the high school in Amsterdam, and 13 at Caroga Lake. Pretty cold stuff this morning, and overnight lows tonight into tomorrow morning should be very similar to these numbers once again. The official low in Albany was 20 degrees, pretty cold, but nowhere near that record 11 set in 1971, and not much recovery this afternoon. The high temperature only up to 39 degrees. You see the average still at 50 degrees, so we were well shy of that this afternoon. 27 now with mainly clear skies and calm winds. That allows for good radiational cooling, meaning that the heat can just escape the space, and there's no clouds to hold that in, so the heat just takes off and temperatures keep on heading down. Pressure, look at it, sky high right now, 30.60. It's going to slowly start to come down over the next few days, but we'll still be controlled by high pressure tomorrow, and that means more sunshine around the area. Temperatures pretty uniform in the mid-20s from Utica into Glens Falls and western New England, so pretty chilly across the entire Northeast. And again, after a very cold morning tomorrow, our temperatures tomorrow afternoon will be about 5 degrees warmer than they were today, so not quite as cold coming up for the first day of the work week. Here's our 12-hour satellite and radar loop. A few flurries around Fort Drum this afternoon, but you see now just a few passing clouds at 11 o'clock this evening through the Adirondacks and the upper Hudson Valley. So if you head outside now, a few clouds, but all in all, the story is pretty clear skies and quiet conditions across much of the eastern United States. As we widen the view, you see lots of clear skies right in from northern Minnesota into the mid-Atlantic states. All the stormy activity off to the west, as Kelly said, lots of weather problems going on in California. A big storm system in California pushing on shore. It's now spreading into the Rockies with rain and high elevation snow in the Rocky Mountain states as well. Here is that storm system, and that'll be heading our way by about Tuesday, pushing this high pressure and quiet weather off the East Coast. Here's the forecast progression. High pressure still in control. A cold start tomorrow with sunshine, but that high slides away, and for Tuesday, that opens up the door for a storm system to be heading in from the west. At least some milder air in the forecast, also some wet weather by the middle of the week. I'll have the forecast in 30 seconds. Welcome back. Let's go through the forecast now. Mainly clear skies tonight, though a few passing clouds over the Adirondacks right now. Cold, 19 by late tonight and early tomorrow morning. And by the way, the record low in Albany for tomorrow morning is 16, so we'll be very close to that. We'll keep an eye on that, see if we set a new record. Mostly sunny tomorrow. Not quite as chilly during the afternoon. Temperatures moderating into the middle 40s, so about 5 degrees warmer than this afternoon was. Clear tomorrow evening, clouds increasing later at night, not quite as chilly, upper 20s for overnight lows. Those clouds will bring some rain showers in by Tuesday afternoon, it looks like. Temperatures still in the mid-40s. Milder yet for Wednesday. Temperatures more seasonable, around 50 degrees, but it looks like we'll have more showers on Wednesday. Then windy and cold again on Thursday with scattered snow showers. Cold to end the week on Friday with highs only in the upper 30s. So up and down.
Okay. Thank you, Lee.
Okay.
Rodger's next with a preview of Big Board Sports. But first, proof that love doesn't fade with age. We'll explain at 11:25. When you've got a combined age of 183, what better way to celebrate life than with marriage? That's exactly what one couple from New Zealand did. They were married today surrounded by decades of relatives, including great-great-grandchildren. The groom is 99, the bride 84. More proof that love is ageless. Rodger's here with a look at what's coming up on Big Board Sports, and you are just back from the Meadowlands.
Yes, my son and I went to the Meadowlands today. I sat in the stands and watched the Giants. It wasn't too much to watch. Week 10 NFL football season, that's where we'll begin. The Giants double-digit favorites to beat the Falcons, and it was not a pretty sight in the Meadowlands today. I'll have highlights, post-game reaction, plus Buffalo at Dallas. Cowboys are one of the surprise teams, no doubt about that, in the entire league. And then lots of high school football will recap Super Bowl weekend, championship weekend for you, Albany football, NASCAR, golf, NBA basketball, and the college basketball season locally, Kelly. Siena, Albany, November 21st, coming up at the Pepsi Arena.
Okay, thank you, Rodger. We'll be back with a last look at the forecast, but first, tonight's winning lottery numbers. Finally tonight, a young feline is in caring hands after he was found running down a Texas highway.
Hey, baby.
This Bengal tiger may be young, but he's already working on his grown-up growl. The cub was spotted early Saturday morning racing down a busy interstate. The 50-pound baby was caught and is now being kept at an animal shelter while workers search for its owner. How could you lose that?
I don't know. I don't think it's I don't think it's domestic down there in Texas. I know they've got a lot of wildlife down there, but tigers, no. Anyway, let's talk about our forecast. Maybe go to Texas for a few days because at least it's a little milder there. Cold tonight, not as bad during the afternoon, but still a bit on the chilly side. 45 degrees for our afternoon high. Lots of sunshine. Then we get wet by Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday. Cold again by Thursday and Friday. So a little up and then down.
Okay, thanks, Lee.
All right.
And that'll do it for us. Riders are next with Big Board Sports.